When we talk about polity, from the prelims perspective as well as from the mains perspective, the syllabus varies a little bit in the sense that the way questions are asked. In PT, you will have more understanding based questions whereby they'll basically force you to think uh, before answering a question. That's a kind of question which we say we'll categorize into the conceptual part. For example, let's say we have a concept called, very simply, democracy. So how would you want to define democracy? Or we have a parliamentary form of government, so how would you distinguish between a parliamentary form of government and a presidential form of government, let's say? Or for that matter, if we talk about what is the concept of rule of law, what is the concept of constitutionalism, these are all concepts. Due process of law, or various kinds of doctrines associated with the functioning of judiciary. These are more conceptual questions, and you will find them approximately 50 to 60% of the polity part will have these kinds of questions. The remaining will be more on the factual lines, that okay, a particular amendment is done to the constitution, what was a part of that, what was the purpose of the amendment. These kinds of questions will be there, or other factual details related to the constitution or the working of the political system. You can have these kinds of questions also. These are the two kinds of questions which you will get in the PT. Now, if I talk about mains, mains will be more application based questions, whereby if you have understood a concept, for example, let's take for example a concept of judicial review. There is something called judicial review, okay? If you don't know anything, not a problem. There is something called judicial review. What is judicial review is something which we want to study from the prelims perspective. But when we apply judicial review into the working of the constitution, then it creates certain problems also, and then it can have certain positive impacts also. That is the part which mains question will try to ask you, that if I have a certain way of functioning, when we do that functioning, what are the implications of that functioning? Questions will be largely application based in mains. So whatever you understand in PT, you will have to apply it in mains. That is how the preparation needs to be done. If you see Lakshmikant is primarily a book which deals with a lot of conceptual and factual things. And it is a very good book in the sense that everything will be brought at one place. But it's an exceptionally dry book in the sense that it will never question you to think. It will give you all the details, and you have to remember all the details, and you have to try to absorb all the details. But while reading, it will not question you that what are your concepts. That is not what the nature of book is. But on the contrary, if you go and read the NCRTs, especially the +1 NCRT, Indian Constitution at Work, then while reading the book itself, you will realize that the book will force you to think, because they will ask you questions. The book itself is going to push you that if this is the case, then this happens, or if this is the case, then that happens. And those kinds of questions they'll have to ask in PT, whereby you are being forced to think, okay, I know something, but this happens or that happens. I never thought it. They'll force you to think in the prelims examination. So you will have to be prepared right from the starting how you have to approach the subject. Because I would say it is one of the 4 big subjects, the other 3 being economics, geography, history, it is basically a foundational subject. So you'll have to be good in polity, and that will help you in connecting a lot of dots down the line in the GS preparation. So take that into consideration when you prepare polity. And recently what we have been seeing is that UPSC has been asking questions whereby they are not only asking you these factual details which used to get answered from Lakshmikant very easily. If I say 10 years back, a lot of things, rather I'll say if there are 10 questions coming in the examination, 8 or 9 would get solved from Lakshmikant. But that has changed in the last approximately 4-5 years. So you need a little bit more understanding with respect to things. And I'm not saying that you have to go and read additional texts for that. But yes, if you can read the NCERTs and if you can follow the current affairs, which will be given to you as a part of the Current Connect magazine, that will suffice. If we do these things, we are good to go with polity. For PT, for mains. But at least this should be something which you keep in mind. But now the question comes, what is important and what is not? Do we need to read everything in detail? Because Lakshmikant is a huge book and you don't have to read Lakshmikant from page 1 to the last page. No. What we discuss in the class, that is the primary theme which you have to keep in mind. You have to first prepare those themes. While preparing those themes, you add factual details from the Lakshmikant. Because other than that, you will not get anything from Lakshmikant. Secondly, the NCERT part I have discussed with you. NCERT, I don't expect you to read for the 9th and 10th standard. They are too primitive. Instead, I would demand that you read 11th class NCERT, Indian Constitution at Work. This is one NCERT which I expect you to read, and the main NCERT which I expect you to read. Then another 11th class NCERT is the NCERT on political theory. Now, this part is for the conceptual understanding and it is on the tougher side. So, those of you who are just starting your polity, I don't expect you to read this book. You will get confused. Don't read this book. As of now, maybe 1 month down the line, 2 months down the line, you can consider reading this. Or even if you want to first complete your entire polity with class notes, this NCERT and KSG booklet or Lakshmikant, and then you want to come to this part, not a problem. Okay. But those of you who have done your polity already and who have a good understanding of polity beforehand, they can consider reading this book also. Then we have the 12th class NCERT, which is not per se a polity NCERT. It is post-independence history of India. There also we have many themes which are useful for the polity part. So post-independence history, there is a very good book by NCERT. This also can be kept handy. That's it. These three plus we have discussed Lakshmikant plus class notes. Okay. So for a very holistic way of preparation of notes and the preparation, you should consider this part. Okay. Now, in addition to that, one thing which should be handy at all points of time is the Bare Act. The Constitution you should have at all points of time. You can either purchase a physical copy. So there is a book by PM Bakshi, Bare Act. You can either consider this, because I will be asking you to read certain portions of the Bare Act in the class itself. Or you can simply download an application of the Constitution of India, or you can download a PDF of the Constitution of India, whatever suits you, not a problem. But we will be referring to this part. Time and again, I'll be asking you to open your Constitution to article number this or article number that, and some understanding and some reading of the Bare Act has to be done. ये करनी पड़ेगी हमको, ठीक है?